So this weekend I was streaming Protection Warrior. There's been a lot of talk about this spec and the class in general recently after the crazy changes they received coming from Shadowlands to Dragonflight. And it's honestly probably one of the most, noteworthy changes because it was insanely powerful in BFA. They pretty much nerfed all the talents that they had in BFA to a way that you couldn't take them all anymore in Shadowlands. And now in Dragonflight, we have pretty much all that stuff back. So a lot of the people who loved it in BFA are probably rejoicing that it's back in Shadowlands. But I did just want to start by saying that typically I was going to plan on streaming today. I did talk about doing that. I was going to do a 60 to 70 test on the beta again. But since Tuesday, the next day after today, is the servers are going to be down all day again, just like they were 3 weeks ago. I'm just going to move that to there. Okay, so that's why I'm making this video instead of streaming today, just something to talk about. But anyway, let's talk about Warrior and my thoughts on it because it's been a very, very commonly asked question. I think it's like the hype tank right now. It's probably like, like that's everybody's looking at Warrior to some degree, everybody who tanks. And I don't really know. I don't think the hype is as deserved as people make it sound. But yeah, here's my thoughts on Warrior. So when I went into Warrior, I was thinking it was gonna be like I don't know. I guess I just didn't fully know what buttons they had. When I was leveling the character, I leveled it as Fury, so I didn't even take a second look at it. But in BFA, the thing that I hated the most was the playstyle was basically, the whole avatar and then the whole, I don't know the names of any of these things, by the way. But yeah, avatar, and then you'd have much lower CD on Thunderclap, and Thunderclap would reduce the CD of Demo Roar. So it would literally be an avatar would be used thanks to the thing that whenever you use Rage, you get more uptime on these CDs. So you would basically have this up like every pack, and you'd be going in there and just slamming, like literally the animation would be happening so fast that you wouldn't even be able to see your character. And then you're all these like 4 or 5 interactions that would happen just from, one button, basically. And I tried that in BFA, and it was like the most unfun thing I've ever done. And so I had no real interest in it in BFA. Like compared to Blood DK, it's a joke. Like it's not, it's just so boring. It was really, really overpowered. But I'm not, I just got off a time when I slammed one button for 6 months. And I'm not doing it again. So that won't be happening on my version of the character. But I don't even think you need to do that because it seems insanely powerful. Like I am actually shocked at how good Prot Warrior is. Everybody's been talking about it for like the last month here, and people keep, I keep bringing it up in the way like, well, I haven't played Prot Warrior, but this Blood Death Knight thing, you know what I mean? I keep saying like Blood DK is so powerful to me, like in like terms of where it's been. It is so powerful that if there was another tank even more powerful, I think it would just be absurd. And that prophecy has come true. It's actually just that way. So I thought that might also be the way Prop Pally was, but I think I just kind of tested it in a weird condition. But yeah, I did an 18 on the Prot Warrior. I think we did 18. So I definitely did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did actually multiple 18s on the Prot Warrior at 240 item level, and I was in no danger whatsoever. I think I did die once. There was a death at one point because explosives aren't getting killed, and that's bad for Prot Warrior. Magic damage does seem to be a problem for Prot Warrior, but since you have so much access to ignore pain and shield spell reflect or whatever it's called is really powerful now, that really has been lessened. And so the reason I wanted to play a different tank than Blood DK for a little bit is, you know me, I don't really like playing alts that much, but I did want to try to invest some time in a different tank. And I was hoping it was going to be Brewmaster, was because I was looking to see kind of the antithesis to Blood DK, right? Like Blood DK is really powerful at times and really weak at times. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I want to learn what's really going on with these dungeons and make like thoughtful commentary on them and see different perspectives on how to succeed in these dungeons, like if I want to help somebody else, like when this all stemmed from me helping Cop because I was trying to give him advice like I was a Death Knight, but it wasn't working. So anyway, I was trying to figure out what other tank I could play. And I was thinking it was going to be Brewmaster because they would be the complete opposite, right? Walls against physical, they should never get one shot based on stagger. On the pull, they should be really powerful. All these things, right? And it's just not true. They suck. I tried. I really tried. They were really fun in the season 4, but now in the pre-patch, I don't know what's going on there, but I just can't get it to work. It's just not working for me. I don't enjoy it at all, unfortunately. So That one's just shelved. I don't think I'll play that again, to be honest. Maybe we'll see what happens if there's some new talk about something fun in Dragonflight. But this whole like offense only tank thing, I'm not doing that. That's for sure. So that makes Brewmaster just the worst. I think they are actually the worst defensive tank right now, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, Prot Warrior is the complete opposite of that, and you don't really even need to play that crazy style to do good offense. The good thing is Spell Reflect actually counts on the charts, so it makes you look a little better than you should be looking. But to be honest, dude, I think the spec is actually quite fun. It's very, very odd because they have this strange rotation. I don't really see any other spec like this. But to be fair, if the closest analog did exist, it would be Brewmaster. What I mean by this is they have two rotational spells. That's it. Okay. And what I mean by rotational spell is like a spell that kind of jump starts the rotation. It's like the one that you always go back to, right? So that's like a rotational spell. You obviously, in your rotation, you'll be using Shield Wall and all these things, right? But those aren't what I would consider a rotational spell. A rotation defining spell would be something like Heart Strike, Mirror Rend, Death Strike. That would be the rotation. And that's if you do nothing else, like you can't play the spec unless you do those three things, right? So what is the core for Warrior? Thunderclap, Shield Slam. That's it. That's actually it. And and then obviously you spend the rage in a variety of ways, which we'll come to in a second. But those are the foundational spells, and they both have cooldowns. So now I'm far more used to, also Prop Pally, but Blood Decay is obviously the thing I'm the most used to, where it's never you always have something like that to press, right? There's always Heart Strike, Mirror Rend. If you've somehow got no runes for any elongated period of time, I don't know that I don't think that's even possible to be honest. So yeah, it's always up. There's no CDs, right? Like the runes are kind of like a CD, but not really. You'd have to basically mirror in 3 times in a row for there to be any elongated period of time where you don't have anything to press. But that's how Warrior is. Warrior actually has nothing to press every once in a while. So at first, I was like really turned off by this. Like, and not even turned off. I was just like bewildered but Brewmaster is somewhat similar to this, but the double keg smash makes it so it doesn't really feel like you ever have that downtime, and you have Rushing Jade Wind. I think if Rushing Jade Wind existed for Prot Warrior, it would solve all my problems with the rotational part of the spec. Because if you don't use Rushing Jade Wind, then you have the exact same problem minus the double Keg Smash Legendary. So if there was ever a double Shield Slam Legendary, or there was a Rushing Jade Wind, you probably wouldn't even notice it. But literally, it's Shield Slam, Thunderclap, wait for them to be back up. So the shout on taking haste, I was like thinking mastery was going to be good for warrior, but I guess not. The shout on taking haste is like transformative from the dreadlords, right? But that's not coming forward. So we'll see, because those two spells are modified by haste. Don't forget. But yeah, I guess you can just stack and enchant haste, which obviously I don't have any enchants or gems or anything. But yeah, I've been playing without a covenant or any borrowed power from Shadowlands just because one, I'm lazy. Two, I don't really want to spend money and time on something that's going to be gone in 13 days or whatever it is now. I guess it's 14 days from today. So yeah, it's been interesting, enlightening. But my other big problem with the spec, especially as I started it, was it's really hard to figure out where and what I should commit rage to. Now, people were saying that isn't really a concern because you're going to have so much rage, you won't be worried about this. And I guess, because of the way I'm playing it, and perhaps because I don't have any power, like Shadowland stuff, that's just not really true. But the haste did help with that when I finally got to 10 and then onward. It did help with that. And you do have a lot more rage. But you basically have, from what I can tell, 5 different decisions to make with the rage. You could use it on shield block. You could use it on ignore pain. So those are your 2 big defensives. You could use it on whirlwind, which people keep telling me has no value, which I could see. You could use it on revenge, which is like the big, like that's like the AoE. That's like the damage choice that you would make. And there's probably another. I always say 5, but I don't actually know what I would say is the 5th one. But anyway, there's probably more out there than just that. And just like when I played the Fury Warrior in the leveling challenge I did, which is published on the channel, you have very, very limited ways to spend it in an AoE situation that makes sense to me, or like in certain situations, because obviously revenge makes sense, but to me, it's like literally, I'm not used to that. You know what I mean? I'm used to there being a focused spell that you use, and if you use it well, it'll be obvious. You'll do really well. And so that's, the thing about the brewmaster situation is they don't actually have a resource, right? So the rotation's just there to kind of manage buffs, I guess is the way you would put it. So I'm more also like Holy Pally, same way, right? Holy Pally only has Light of the Martyr or whatever it's called, Word of Glory, or Shield of Righteous. That's it. There's no other ways you can spend Holy Power. Well, you could take Seraphim, which I hate, but yeah, those two things are the only options. So Pro Warrior has all these decisions, and I think that the most confusing thing is it has two different defensive decisions. It's really confusing, and now that I have more hate, rage generation, I do feel like it's a little bit less confusing. But that is just really like overwhelming. Those two things that I just described out of the gate were like, I wouldn't say that they made it, I wouldn't say that they turned me off, but they kind of did. I don't want to sound like I hated the spec for a while, but it was like, what is going on with this class? I did not expect it to be like that. Didn't fully put two and two together in my head. But now that I have played it 2 days, I would say that it's really growing on me. And I really feel like you're in a bit of a rhythm. You're like, hit those two spells, take it, almost like take a deep breath. You know what I mean? Then like wait a second or two and they're back up. And then you got rage, hit both defensives, wait. You know what I mean? Oh, there's some other things like some resets and some procs that could happen, but you're almost in this rhythm where you're like, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Now, of course, that's with the playstyle I'm using, and I think that's kind of just proof that Avatar really shouldn't be a talent. But anyway, it is. So I'm going to try to avoid taking it if I can, just because I really don't like the playstyle. But yeah, anyway, it's just I'm having fun with it, and the main thing that keeps me coming back to it or keeps me interested in it is how ridiculously powerful it is. It's actually really crazy. And so my original focus was to find a tank that could kind of be a teaching point for me going forward. This is it for sure. Prot Warrior is definitely the most defensive physical tank right now in the game, and I haven't even played Bear or Vengeance, and I don't need to because there's no possible way that they could be more defensively valuable than Prot Warrior. I'm talking about literally mobs are like 5 or 6 times bolstered, and my health is not moving. That's really hard to understand after playing a Blood DK. I think that's probably the whys of how come I'm so interested in the spec. You might say, like, I actually would say this. If it was not like this, I probably wouldn't be interested in the spec because the rotation and the clunkiness of it is kind of like, I'm on the fence about it. Like, I'm 1 foot over the fence on it. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't like, oh, but back there is really a really powerful tank, I'm like, I'm gonna stay on this side of the fence. But if that wasn't there, I'm like, I might go over the fence now. I might drop this spec because it's just not really it's not really that fun to play. Like if I was not doing difficult content, it wouldn't be fun at all. But because I know I'm doing difficult content, especially for my gear level and my character's like preparation level, and I'm not in any day, like it's almost like kind of exciting. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, look how overpowered I am. And that's actually kind of how I got into Blood DK in the first place because I wanted to play Brewmaster. I played it in MOP challenge modes. I wanted to play it in WOD challenge modes. But in the beginning of WOD challenge mode, people were like, no, only Death Knights can come because of how overpowered Death Knight was. And that's actually how I started playing Death Knight. So it's actually kind of funny. Certainly not as passionate about Prot Warrior as I expected to be just because of these weird little things with it. But yeah, I'll tell you right now, guys, if you're looking to tank, if you're looking to, get into an alt or something like that, maybe, and you're not fully aware of Prot Warrior, maybe I should wait more than 2 days in to give this vote of confidence. But I'm telling you, that's probably the tank you want to try. Is it the easiest tank to play? No, certainly does not seem to be. I think it maybe even is one of the harder tanks to play. But when I talk about difficulty, I always think about it as like, what would be the easiest tank to be AFK on and still succeed, right? Now, typically I would say Brewmaster is the only one because Brewmaster has stagger. It's the only one that actually has like true defensive capability without you interacting with it. But I think Prot Warrior actually is better. I think they're actually better. They're just so freaking good. And the thing about the talents is They're all so passive. There's so many really powerful passive talents that are just overpowered. Like it's kind of weird. It's like whoever designed the Prot Warrior talents didn't look at any of the other tanks, I think, because there is no other tank in the game that has all of these armor and strength bonuses. That's it. It's the only tank that gets that. Like Prot Warrior gets like a 5% leech on a single talent, and the Death Knight one is 2% leech. You know what I mean? It's like uh hello. What's going on here? So for now, man, I think it's really good, and it's probably going to last a while. I'm not saying it's going to get nerfed immediately, but it does look like we're in the same situation we were in BFA, where there was just far too many talents that are buffing each other, and I don't know how long they can keep that in, because that was the problem with Affliction and Legion. They nerfed the fuck out of it. That was the problem with Warrior and BFA. You know how that turned out. So, what was it in Legion, or what was in BF or Shadowlands? I'm sure there was an examples too, and that's been changed probably as well. Maybe like Mage or something like that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. And I will say that if you are looking for a tank to play as your first tank, and you're not like completely new to the game, maybe consider Prot Warrior, because right now I play it horribly. I don't even play like the meta playstyle, and it still seems absolutely absurd.